This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Hi listeners, this is Brent Sutton, one of the authors of the Practice of Learning Teams. Welcome today. Today we're going to be exploring the 5 principles of learning team. And with me today is Glynis McCarthy and Brent Robinson.
Hi, I'm Glynis McCarthy from the Practice of Learning Teams, and I'll be leading our discussion today about Principle 3. Workers have the best knowledge and understanding of the problem. And I'm going to be joined by my colleagues Brent Sutton and Brent Robinson. I think it's valid to say that workers are experts of their work, that they have the knowledge and understanding of work as done that makes them a vital partner in learning teams. With a learning team, it becomes very clear and evident that everyone will have their own rationale, that people will have different perspectives on a particular situation or event. This doesn't imply that the system that they're operating in is weak, but it accepts that the situation that will be viewed differently by different people doing the work. How a system performs, therefore, cannot necessarily be understood by any one point of view. Exploring multiple and differential views, including past events and current system issues, brings together aspects of the system to light, including the demands, the pressures, the resources and constraints that ultimately impact on safe performance. So Brent Sutton, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Look, thanks, Glynis. Look, I think it's a great concept that we give workers the respect that they need and that we recognise them as the experts in their work.
That they really are part of the solution as opposed to the problem.
Absolutely, but more importantly is that particularly in the world of safety and around risk management, whatever the residual risk is, so when we calculate risk, whatever risk is left over, it's the workers that face that risk, not the organisation. The organisation face the risks of if it goes wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, but they don't face the risk of how the hazard can harm someone, because only a worker is faced with that. So respecting them as being the expert really makes that worker feel valued in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they do bring up value, don't they? The fact that they know how to do the work safely means that they have an understanding of how they manage that dynamic risk. What are your thoughts, Brent Robinson?
I agree. If I put it into that lean context, going to the Gimba is one of those lean words we use, but, going out to where the work's been done and talking to the experts, the people doing the work, they're the knowledge holders. They're the people that are doing it day in, day out. And we're building up that learning team, or we're building up that knowledge and having those ongoing conversations with them, it's really powerful. It's super powerful stuff. And I think as leaders and practitioners, if we're not doing that and not involving those people in the conversation, then we're not doing our job. We need to really focus on doing that.
I think one of the unintended consequences of looking at our workers as part of the solution, and so therefore inviting their input, is that we are really able to encourage and enhance workers' ability to critically reflect, which is something that's really important in terms of managing safety in a day-to-day component. By getting workers to reflect on their practice, both in terms of their past experiences, in terms of constraints, in terms of good practice, in terms of those things that aids good practice, workers are really able to hone their skills around managing and thinking about dynamic risk. And so I think that the starting point that workers are the experts, I think really provides a great deal of positive outcomes, both for workers and for the organisation, in terms of how you manage risk.
And I think the fact that when senior management participate in a learning team and they hear these workers acting that expert capacity, it really surprises them that they hear from the worker that each worker has their own local rationale. That they thought that everyone would say exactly the same thing in exactly the same way, because that's what the rules always told them. So the fact that when they hear from workers that they have their own different views, their own rationale, it really comes as a surprise. And that's where that language we use of that diversity of thought really becomes powerful. Because it is that rationale that we want to know about. Because it's exploring those multiple and different views, not only from the past but also current, that can really drive where we need to be. And being able to see those trade-offs and those adjustments and those adaptations in our systems, that is how we make the whole concept of operational learning more transparent.
I think that's a great point. So thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Thank you, listeners, for being part of this podcast. We'd love to hear your learnings from today or other topics you would like us to support you on. Go to www.podcastlearnings.com and be part of the community practice of learning teams at www.learningteamscommunity.com.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.